What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mind Something. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at the markets, we're going to take a look at profits, we're also going to take a look at the BTC difficulty chart being down. Then we have a new bill that's aimed at crypto miners to impact the environment. We got to take a look at that. ETH devs are also targeting March for the Shanghai hard fork. HiveOS has got some cryptic tweets, pun intended, and then Kaspa doesn't have a halving, so what does it have? And while we're taking a look at halvings and emission schedules, we'll go ahead and take a look at Radiant and Flux as well. You know the drill. Do me a favor, hit the like and hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Let's jump right into the crypto market right now. So we've had a nice little rebound in the market today. Right now, BTC is sitting at $17,228, up about 2% on the 24-hour chart. Ethereum is about 4% up, sitting at 1281. XRP at 39 cents. Dogecoin 0.098 cents. Cardano at 31 cents. Polygon at 92 cents. Polkadot at $5.41. Litecoin at $78. Let's take a look at Kaspa, see how it's doing. So Kaspa is down about 3% at 0.007 cents. Ergo is sitting at $1.34, down only about 1/3%. Flux is sitting at 52 cents, up almost 3% on the day. And then lastly, let's take a look at Radiant. Radiant is down 14% on the 24-hour chart at 0.001995. And I think at one point today it was down like 24%. And yeah, I suspected that we would give back some of those gains, and I also suspect that Kaspa has a little bit more downside to play out, but if the rest of the market keeps pumping, then perhaps we won't have much downside on either of those two. Let's go ahead and jump right into what to mine and take a look at profits on the farm today. So right now, Kaspa is coming in at 10 cents in profit, at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. You've got Meowcoin coming at negative $5.15, which is actually up. Usually it's about $6.50 negative. Let's take a look at some of the others, like Ravencoin is down, or is negative $5.54. Let's see here. Flux coming in at negative $3.80. Ergo coming in at negative $3.68. And by the way, I did have a conversation with one of the pool operators about Ergo. I think we've been kind of speculating that FPGAs were going to be hitting Ergo here in the near future, but based on some of the things that he was showing me in Discord, it doesn't look like FPGA miners are very interested in Ergo. It looks like there was FPGAs on Autolykos 1, but not Autolykos 2. As far as efficiency is concerned, there just isn't enough profit in Ergo for them to extract based on efficiency, which is, I guess, a good thing. I want Ergo to remain GPU mineable, and if they're not interested in it at this point, then perhaps it will stay that way. Next, I wanted to take a look at a video that I saw with Gary Gensler. And man, this guy absolutely disgusts me. I'm sure most of you out there probably feel the same. But I want to encourage you guys to go listen to the things that were said in this particular video, brought to you by Yahoo Finance. She actually does a pretty decent job at pressing him about the FTX situation and the meetings that he had prior to their collapse. And of course, Gary Gensler, in his typical fashion, just completely dances around the questions and spews all the same garbage that he always does, and it's quite infuriating. And for those of you who are not really paying attention to this saga, I just wanted to elaborate and kind of explain some of the details that I'm seeing. So, first of all, his meetings with FTX have been going on for quite some time. And several months ago, whenever we had the Terra Luna collapse, there was a lot of speculation that FTX had something to do with it. And at that point, I started paying attention because it seems rather odd to me that FTX never had any kind of issues with the SEC whatsoever. If you notice, there was issues with Coinbase, there was issues with crypto.com, any kind of lending platform like that. They all were in the news at some point having issues with the SEC, except for FTX. And then when FTX just, starts bailing out all of these failing crypto companies after the Terra Luna collapse, that's when I started to get very suspicious that the FTX was being protected. And I couldn't speculate on why they were being protected at the time, but now it's becoming painfully obvious. And that is, there are ties between Gary Gensler being at MIT to the parents of Sam Bankman-Fried, who are both university teachers and familiar with Gary Gensler. And when you start putting all these little pieces of the puzzle together, it starts making perfect sense. Now, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on here, but what I suspect is that all of this was coordinated. Sam Bankman-Fried was always touted in the media as being this, the white in shining armor, or the knight in shining armor of crypto, and it just came out of nowhere. And to have all of that money and all of that backing and all of that power and the persuasion that he had over all these different politicians, I knew there was something fishy going on, and I am 100% certain that this filth has something to do with it. I think there's a war on crypto. It's been, going on for quite some time, but now it's starting to get really ugly. The gloves are coming off, so to speak, but I sure hope this guy gets what's coming to him. And speaking of Gary Gensler, here's another one for you. SEC tells U.S.-listed companies they'd better disclose crypto damage. So it looks like they're going to be putting something in place where now any company, any publicly traded company that has crypto on their balance sheet has to disclose that, and in the manner of which they disclose it is going to be scrutinized very heavily. There's a couple other interesting articles that I noticed in here as well. Chainlink's first staking pool pulls in 170 million of Link tokens, hitting community limit after 2 days. And, considering everything that just happened with FTX, I really don't like to see any centralized platform creating their own token and then using that to fund their operations. We all know what's going to happen with this. It's basically vaporware, just created out of thin air. Anyways, moving on. Presenting CoinDesk's most influential people of 2022. You might want to check that one out. And then Ether breaks trend line from previous bear cycle lows. And then lastly, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust discount widens to a record 50%, which is kind of scary. It would have been nice if we would have gotten that spot Bitcoin ETF, and they just suppressed it as long as they possibly could. And now it seems pretty apparent why they wanted to suppress it until we got into a bear market, and then all of these things happen. And there's just a lot of pressure on all of these different centralized entities. And it's funny because they're doing everything that they can to FUD crypto, but really all they're doing is FUDding centralized platforms. If you look at all the decentralized platforms, everything's perfectly fine. Yeah, occasionally we'll get like a hack, or someone will exploit, bad code. But for the most part, the biggest losses have always come from centralized platforms, and I find that pretty ironic. Next, we got an article from Cointelegraph saying BTC difficulty drops by the biggest margin since 2021. So tough market conditions continue to affect Bitcoin's ecosystem as mining difficulty drops by its biggest margin since July of 2021. And of course, that was right after the China ban, which is still comical to this day because there are plenty of people in China that are still mining. And it's not going to stop. They just can't shut it down. They never will be able to. So the cat's out of the bag and it's going to continue. But a 7.32% difficulty adjustment took place on December 6th at block height 766,080, marking the sharpest drop in difficulty in over a year. This coincided with a drop in average hash rate from 264 exahash to 245 exahash, according to the data from BTC.com. And, there's a lot of pressure on Bitcoin miners right now. I would imagine we're really going to start to see some of these larger companies fold. I mean, obviously, there's been a few in trouble here recently. But even for those that have been in pretty good shape throughout this particular situation, they're really feeling the pressure now, and it's going to be interesting to see how long they can hold out. And speaking of the miners, so U.S. lawmakers introduce a bill aimed at reporting on crypto miners' potential environmental impacts. Let's see here. So 3 United States lawmakers have introduced legislation that would direct the Environmental Protection Agency to report on the energy usage and environmental impact of crypto miners. In a December 8th announcement, California Representative Jared Huffman and Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey said they were sounding the alarm on the energy use from crypto mining in the United States, claiming that Bitcoin miners accounted for roughly 1.4% of the country's electricity consumption. Together with Senator Jeff Merkley, the lawmakers introduced the Crypto Asset Environmental Transparency Act, which would instruct the EPA to report on mining activity consuming more than 5 megawatts. So for us little guys out here, obviously we're going to be under 5 megawatts, so not a big deal. But, the magnifying glass is coming in and they're really taking a look at all of these things, which is concerning. I think that at some point, even the hobbyist miners are really going to have to worry about that type of scrutiny, which is unfortunate. So prepare yourselves. If you're not documenting everything properly now, I highly recommend that you start doing that, because if you want to continue to mine, that's most likely going to be imperative. And if you don't want to face a situation where they're looking back at records that you forgot to keep up with or taxes that you didn't pay, then you might be in a tough spot. Next, this article is also from Cointelegraph. Ethereum developers target March 2023 for Shanghai hard fork. So according to a discussion at the 151st Ethereum core developers meeting on December 8th, core programmers have set a tentative deadline of March 2023 for Ethereum's Shanghai hard fork. In addition, developers will aim for May or June of 2023 to launch the Ethereum Improvement Protocol EIP 4844 upgrade that will introduce proto-dank sharding to the network. Although the much anticipated proof of stake merge upgrade was completed on September 5th, staked Ether is currently locked on the Ethereum beacon chain. The token is created by decentralized finance protocol Lido, with close to 3.5 million staked ETH in circulation. After the Shanghai upgrade, staked ETH users can withdraw their funds along with any applicable staking rewards for validating network transactions. I do not think that that is the case, and I'm really stunned that Cointelegraph would get this wrong, but I guess they didn't put a deadline on this specifically, but to say that after the Shanghai upgrade, staked ETH users can withdraw their funds along with any applicable staking rewards, that's a bunch of BS. The dev team has been very clear from what I've heard so far that they've just completely removed it from the roadmap. So, they always kick the can further down the road. That's just how Ethereum devs operate. But for Cointelegraph to say that you can unstake your ETH after the Shanghai upgrade, Maybe I'm in the dark here. Maybe there's been some kind of announcement that I'm not aware of, but as far as I know, that is certainly not the case. And anyways, let's move on and talk about this Hivon tweet that I saw earlier today. So not your keys, not your crypto, not your firmware, ... So I'm not really sure what this was in reference to, and I'm curious if anybody out there listening right now knows what prompted this particular tweet. Or maybe it's just nothing. Maybe I'm just reading into it. Raptor Mining chimed in and said, not your power, not your miners. Hivon says, not your miners, not your farm. This is kind of funny. Not thieves, not hackers, not scammers. And then, this person's got the same idea that I do. Someone's going to have to fill me in here. But yeah, I really don't know what they're referring to. And here's another one, not your dev fees, not your income. So if you guys are aware of what they're referring to here, I would love to know. But anyways, moving on, let's talk about Kaspa for a minute. So taking a look at the difficulty over here on this chart on the right hand side, you can see that on November 29th, somewhere between November 29th and December 2nd, we peaked out, and it looks like difficulty got to 116, and we are currently sitting at 103. So that's roughly about a 13% drop in difficulty on Kaspa, which is quite nice. Now, we do have a significant drop in price on Kaspa, so as far as profitability is concerned, we're not sitting where we were just a week or two ago, but difficulty is going down, and I think that it's going down because a lot of miners have switched to Radiant. But to continue on with Kaspa, LOL Miner 1.64 looks like it's going to take the crown, but just to be certain, I am running a test, and most of you are probably already aware of this, but I just wanted to give you an update. We have roughly about an hour left in the test, and I just wanted to show you where we stand. So on 1.63, we got 19,422 shares, and we're paid 246 Kaspa on Ghost Pool, which has static difficulty. In other words, difficulty does not vary, it doesn't change, and this is the proper way to do the test. And right now we're sitting at 470 Kaspa paid total, so we're pretty close to where we were. And then as far as shares are concerned, we are sitting at 19,297 as opposed to 19,422. So as far as shares on the pool, with an hour left, are we going to beat the previous version of LOL Miner? I don't know. It's going to be really, really close, but stay tuned. I'll have that video. We're also comparing BzMiner, and he does have a new version also. So we were going to test 12.1.1, but now we've got 12.2.0. So that'll be really interesting to see how that newer version of BzMiner fares on this particular test. And as far as what I'm mining right now, other than the rig that's doing the test, I am still mining Radiant, but profitability has dropped considerably. Roughly about 22 gigahash at about 2,000 watts. Revenue is down to $8.86 with a profit of $4, as compared to, I think yesterday's video, we were about $11 in revenue and about $6 in profit, maybe a little bit more than $6. But I'm going to continue to mine Radiant until it is no longer profitable. Anyways, moving on, I wanted to let you guys know that Radiant has a cool little thing in their Discord in case you guys are interested in checking this out. They now have a bot that displays data from social network and the Radiant chain. So you can see hash rate here, you can see the supply, and you can see the halving. And that's what kind of prompted me to talk about halvings on Kaspa. So the next halving on Radiant isn't until 2024, which is great, considering hash rates going up. I'd hate to have a halving right around the corner to also have to compete with. They've got over 3,600 Twitter followers, over 2,500 Discord members, and over 2,000 Telegram members. But speaking of Kaspa and halvings, I would imagine some of you are not aware of this, and if you're not familiar with Kaspa's wiki, there is a lot of really helpful information in here that would answer pretty much every question that you can think of. And what I was interested in sharing with you guys was the emissions schedule. Now, this particular language here is going to be really hard to follow, so I found kind of a summarized version of this. Let's see here. So, chromatic halvings. Kaspa's emissions schedule undergoes a chromatic halving schedule, meaning that rewards smoothly decrease every month in a quantitative manner that results in a 50% emission reduction per annum. And for those of you who don't know what annum means, that means per year. So a 50% reduction in rewards every year. And this adjustment takes place every month. I believe it states somewhere in here. I'll leave links for all of this for you guys to check out. But yeah, essentially, there's a small percentage change 12 times a year. And the last one was on, I think, November 7th, which means perhaps the most recent one was actually November or December 7th. So rewards are going to continue to go down every month, and that's something that everybody should be aware of. And speaking of halvings and things you should be aware of, Flux has a halving in February. So for those of you out there who haven't been mining Flux, you may have missed your opportunity because with the halving on Flux, rewards are getting cut in half in just a couple of months. Now, I would have loved to have mined more Flux. Unfortunately, I focused on a few other projects after Ethereum, and it's worked out pretty well so far for me, but again, I'd really like to have more Flux, so perhaps I'll just be DCAing into Flux. But it looks like after February, man, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for some of you out there who are mining Flux. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys on this video. Appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the like and hit the subscribe on your way out if you haven't already, and I will see you guys tomorrow.